You're so funny and love to have fun. I know you got to stop eating that sweet. I
love
soon,
to have
honestly.
fun. That's what they say about me.
That went on for far too
Things I love to have fun.
I told you those sweets are too hard to chew.
They're not very.
chewable.
They're not very. None of the sweets in this bowl are very nice. That's the problem.
Okay, so let's circle back because I think your music is so sad. Lots of it is very sad.
Yeah,
but in a great way.
Thanks.
My favorite musician. You were my most streamed artist on Spotify.
Really? No, I wasn't.
You were. You were definitely my top 3.
Okay.
I think it was you.
That's really sweet.
It was you and someone really random, and then Dua Lipa.
Damian Marley.
I think it was someone like Damian Marley or
Who's the guy
Gregory
you put me
Isaacs.
onto who did that kind of comedy
Maccabee.
album? Maccabee.
We love Maccabee.
We love Maccabee.
I listened to a lot of Maccabee last year.
Maccabee is a legend.
Yeah, he's an amazing lyricist.
He's a comedian, really.
He's a comedian. He's like a comic genius.
Yeah.
But so you write like quite, very emotional music, but then actually at a party you're really fun, and that's the thing.
I don't know about fun.
Well, when I've been at parties with you, but maybe that's just
when have you been to a
fun.
party with me?
Well, I went to your rave. That was fun.
Oh yeah, that's true.
And then we went to that party and you DJ'd at that weird party in LA. Do you remember?
Which one?
In that weird, it was in the house in the hills. I don't want to say too much.
Yes.
That was so weird.
It was the house of the man who invented Minecraft.
That was it, Minecraft. Because I said it was Fortnite. It was Minecraft.
Yeah.
It was an unbelievable house, like a spaceship.
No, I didn't like it.
But I liked it.
I didn't like anything about it.
Watching those things. So I loved it. So I loved watching all of these like young Instagram girls like in this house in the hills just taking pictures.
It was really strange because he wasn't there. It felt almost like basically the kids are at school after hours.
And they've got a free house.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
it was weird. Remember there was like all this like writing on the walls. It was a really crazy house and a really interesting demographic of people, which I find fascinating. I love going to parties where I don't know anyone because then I don't have to speak to anyone. I can just look.
I think Ty Dolla $ign showed up later on that night.
Yeah. And
also,
Chris Brown?
I think so.
And Uptown Funk, what's that guy's name?
Bruno Mars.
Yeah.
Bruno Mars.
I think they
I don't know what, yeah. I don't know why. I don't know, and LA's funny in it. It's like, it's just, sometimes it'll just be, all it requires is that there's just a big, rich house person who owns big house, rich.
And you'll go.
That's grounds enough to leave your house and go and see what's going to happen.
But I get that, don't you?
I get it.
Like if I was 21, I would
100%.
I would go to the open envelope, especially if it's a $250 million house.
Exactly. I think a lot of people just want to see what the house is
exactly.
like. Yeah.
Yeah. And I am fascinated by massive wealth. So like whenever I get asked to go, like when I was younger, my dad would say, do you want to come to this party? It's going to be like a really amazing house. I'd be like 13. I'd be like, I want to go because I want to see.
Just see what it's like.
What the house is like, yeah.
Oh my God, it's smaller than ours. Until I got to LA, I didn't really see anything like. I've never seen anything like that. It's not really, because it's not the wealth. Like it's not old money. It's not like big estates in the country. It's not anything like that. It's like LA wealth is like new money, new builds.
Yeah, everything's
a lot of the time
been made in our lifetime.
Probably
like a lot
in
of
the
the
last
houses
10 years.
have been built in our lifetimes. Yeah. And they have a really distinctive look. And then what I find so interesting is when I go to a house and I'm like, you've got so much money and this is what you did with it.
Yeah, you bought you've got like a fridge that's bigger than like my living room.
Yeah.
And it's only got sodas in it.
And
or like
Fiji water.
Sparkling water, basically.
Fiji water.
It's just Fiji waters and sparkling waters.
Yeah.
There's a type of person in LA that when you open their fridge, that's all they've got in it.
I remember I went to Robert Downey Jr.'s house when I was a kid. So I became friends with this boy who was friends with his son. And he was living here filming Sherlock Holmes. We went to his house in Mayfair and there were fridges everywhere. And the only thing in the fridges was Fiji water. It was so weird. There was nothing else. No condiments, just Fiji water.
Because what's happening is the assistants are bringing in food from somewhere where, like...
They've got condiments.
They've got all that stuff.
What do you think you are like at parties then? How would you describe yourself socially?
I think I think I get into this. It depends what so the problem I find with a lot of parties is that people, I like two things. I either like loud music in it and I wouldn't describe what I do as dancing, but I'd say like movement, kind of like not even choreographed.
That's how I'm going to start describing what I do.
I'd say
just
like
movement.
I'd say abstract limb exploration, and then I'd say the other version of it is I like to just chat. Right. The problem is a lot of people have found this terrible niche where the music's too loud to chat, but it's too quiet to really want to dance to it. And it's like, it's a contagion of people doing that.
Because you have to pick one.
You pick one, in my opinion. So the music's either off or not.
Yeah.
You know, although when you turn it off.
Like you're at a dinner party, like it's very background music.
Yeah, very background.
Yeah.
Or let's just listen to it.
Yeah.
And that's
because do you like music? If we were hanging out, would you like there just being music in the background?
I don't like it.
You don't?
Yeah, I find it just, I'm like, I don't see the point. And also when we've done just like sitting down, like listening to our favorite tunes and just playing them really loud and then kind of hot seating the phone and just like,
by the way, we just play James's music.
You play.
I play my favorite James.
You
songs,
play like I'll Come Too, and I'll play Retrograde.
Yeah, exactly.
And then you play
we just
like
pass each other the laptop.
Like, I love that when you did dance music, and then I'll be like, but I was sick at that, but like, have you heard like my piano songs?
Yeah,
and I'd be like playing the piano songs.
We spend hours doing that.
God, hours. I mean, like the nights fly by.
You would be my mastermind topic.
Yes.
Yeah.
James Blake. And I'd also be my own mastermind topic as well.
Of course. Can you do that, surely?
Myself.
Yourself? Can you go on mastermind and do yourself? No, I guess not. No. But I could do like the lyrics of your songs, I reckon, on mastermind. Like if it was like a...
You reckon?
I reckon.
Wow.
But let's not do it now. Just in case I'm wrong.
If I,
that
put you to the test.
I would also maybe do like... Bob Marley and Peter Tosh, like their relationship. I could do a mastermind. Like I know a lot about
their whole relationship,
like about the breakdown of their relationship, and like I've read so many books about them.
Wow,
it's quite neat.
That's a great
such
subject,
a range, isn't it?
Yeah.
Anyway, so you don't like music playing in the background. So you either want to be at like a dinner or like just hanging out on sofas, or you want to be in a rave. Kind
of, yeah. Yeah. I'm not really that into the middle ground of like loud party, no one can really chat, or like you can just about hear them and you can't really get into any. It's like I find like I used to find it frustrating if I couldn't show people who I actually am. You know, I'm certainly not showing people who I actually am when I'm dancing. I mean, that's definitely not like a fair representation of how I like my rhythm and stuff. But I feel like when I DJ, it's like DJing is like DJing's being at a party with the social component removed.
Which is a lot of people's dream.
It's a lot of people's dream. It's like the awkward person, it's like I love the music and I want to be part of it and around it, but I don't want to be like, like standing there with my drink, just be like, like people be like, come on, have fun, dance, come on, like pulling me over to the dance floor, come on, have fun, dance, you'll love it. And like, I'm just like, and also because my analytical brain, like, because I listen to so much dance music and I make it, as you know.
As I famously know.
Yeah. The issue is that like every few, depending on the party, like, if the DJ is really good, then I'm in.
Yeah.
Like I'm completely locked in. And I will dance and I'll have loads of fun and I won't be self-conscious. If the music is a bit shit sometimes, or like the DJ can't really keep the vibe going, and it's like every other few tunes, there's just this tune and you're just like, oh,
what is
really
a song
bait, and I just don't like it.
That if it played, you would like leave? Is there like a genre or like a brand of song that like if that played at a party, you'd be out of there?
Well, you know there is. but we can't discuss it here.
No, we can't. I think music is so important. And when I am at a party and I don't like the music, I do get quite agitated. But it's like if I'm at a party and I don't like the acoustics of like, if I can't hear.
If it's too clangy
I just,
and it's like it's too like harsh on your ears and stuff like that can really fuck up
bad.
your vibe really. Like
yeah. I have to leave or end up taking up smoking again. And then I go outside basically.
Because I think there's a relief from just, I mean, sometimes like the music serves a purpose for just there being something going on in there while you just go outside and chat. And I love that. To be honest, like some of my favorite times at parties has always been 4 a.m, like house parties.
Yeah, I love house
4
parties.
a.m, and we're drinking red wine and smoking, and like and people are discussing like politics. Fluoride.
The amount of house parties I was at when I was younger, and then fluoride would come up.
Fluoride, really?
Fluoride, yeah.
Why?
Because like we grew up with a lot of like conspiracy theorists who like as sort of late teens, early 20s were just convinced that fluoride was like the root cause of all evil. You know, which they've become more mainstream now. That's become more mainstream as an opinion. But,
well, a lot of the conspiracy theories from the 90s just ended up being true.
Yeah,
so.
exactly. But in 2011, we were all like, "Shut up."
Yeah, right.
But so when you were at uni, were you like is that when you started DJing? Because you were like, I don't want to.
I was like, fuck this.
I don't want everyone to keep telling me to dance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Basically, I was like, stop telling me to have fun.
You're at Goldsmiths.
Yeah.
Which is like kind of a fun, like cool kind of
party uni.
They have like South London.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know, like we'd have like Scream and Banger and like all these different DJs who were making dubstep and stuff turn up. And
that's cool.
Yeah, we had like a really good, and actually I ran a society called the Bass Society at Goldsmiths, which was essentially we would put on club nights. And so we'd book Scream and Banger, we'd book all these DJs. And that's how I met a few people back in the day in the sort of dubstep scene. And it's actually how I met Mount Kimby.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Were you making your own music then?
I was. It wasn't very good, but I was making it, and I was DJing as well at the Bass Society things. I would basically play first, like when no one was there, and then you'd have like one of the early like dubstep DJs would turn up, and muscle me off the decks and just and then before my set was finished they just like kind of like put their CD in the thing and just like be like, fuck off, mate. And I just go and I just watch them and just see what they were doing, and kind of is how I like, I guess in a way that was roughly how I started. And I used to play the student union. I was DJing at the student union every now and again, and they'd give me like 100 quid or something. That's how I first started making money. Essentially, that was my first jobs as a DJ. My first jobs in music was playing piano bars.
Really?
Or restaurants, or
really in London?
Yeah.
Like where?
There's a restaurant in Muswell Hill. I played a few times.
That's cool.
I just would play in the background, and just like people just like ignore me. Yeah, I feel sorry for those.
So
it's so sweet.
Yeah, it's so
like,
sweet.
When it happens, you're like, oh, this is great. Like I love it. But also when you're the pianist and everyone's just ignoring you and like just getting on with their conversations, it can be a little bit. It's great because it's easy money, honestly.
It's character building as well.
Yeah, and you get used to people just ignoring you.
I
think that's another thing about like with music is that you have to develop a fairly thick skin for music, and I think it's actually really good training to do. Like I did a lot of like wedding, I'd join like little bands and do wedding bits and it was great fun actually, and I really enjoyed it. And I enjoyed some of the thing about the restaurant stuff is it's solo, so it's kind of lonely. That's the difference, is that when you're in a band and you're like playing covers and you're just doing all these gigs, and even if the money's not amazing, it can get good though if you're good at it, but at least you're with your friends. Whereas
and you're not the sole focus that people are looking at. It's like, I remember I once did a gig for a brand and it was like for a really like, it was for a fashion brand.
Right.
And there's all these cool influencers, and I was just doing stand up, and no one was listening. And I was talking.
Oh my God.
It was like a fever dream. No one was listening apart from Anna, who'd come along with me. She was just going like that.
Yeah.
And all of these people were just like, yeah. It was awful, but so character building.
To be your
Because then
mate
once
in
you've
that
done
situation.
that,
Yeah.
you're like, well, it's fine. You know, if you've played
Yeah.
to all of these people ignoring you, I think those are the kinds of things that everybody should go through, if I'm
Oh
honest.
no, for sure. I did years of it.
Yeah.
And I think it really, really set me up to like be ignored in my career as well. So no, but
It's good to have like
yeah.
that, I think, that experience, rather than going just, I don't know, never having something like that and then peaking and then it being over and then being like,
Absolutely.
you know?
No, absolutely. And like playing in bands, I played in a lot of different like little like outfits, and I think what it did, as in not outfits.
Yeah, I was like, little outfits.
We call the band
little dungarees.
just little short little hot pants.
ABBA.
Yeah, you know. But outfits as in bands, and we would like, regardless of what we were doing, I think it was just the case. It was a way of like learning to fit in with a band without being, you know, I wasn't soloing or soloist. I was, you know, because piano or guitar or any, you know, you have to learn multiple ways of fitting in. You know, you can be even if you're like someone like John Mayer, who's like can really solo and can really do rhythm, but you've got to learn both. You can't, you know, to be versatile in music, you sort of need to learn how to fit into just a groove.
Which he's so good at. Like he everybody loves to play with him.
Right.
He's obviously so good at collaborating.
Anyone who's good at being in a band is like amongst musicians, it's like a language you're speaking on stage, and when if you hear something someone's doing that's kind of like it's kind of like trying to make it about themselves.
Main character.
They're kind of main charactering you, and it's not really their turn to do that. And
also, what can you do?
You're in the fucking, you know what I mean? It's
yeah,
like, there's a singer singing like, and they're like getting in the way of the voice or something like that. Then it's very obvious, and I think that people don't always tell each other that that's why they don't like playing with other music. It's kind of like just social life in a way.
Yeah, totally. It is like social
You know.
life. It's like when you have a friend who just like talks loads over people, or like,
Yes.
or like dominates too much, which I'm sure people maybe say about me behind my back, but
I wasn't going to say anything.
but like it's that sort of taking the spotlight away from people when it isn't your turn.
I think
when you're
being
on
a good
stage,
listener as a friend
but
is
also
a big
picking up on social cues of like noticing when you're like jarring someone.
Right.
But when you're on stage, you can't really like turn to someone and be like, stop that.
Yeah. Can you?
Yeah.
Can you shut the fuck up?
You could, to be fair.
You can, like, in ways. There's ways of like bands kind of like communicating with each other, but I think in a way you've just got to find the people who are good listeners and good speakers. So, you know, it's in that way, it's a conversation that, you know, and then there's dynamics of like someone, it being accepted that person's just going to take center stage, even though they might not be the best person to do that. So band dynamics are really complex sometimes, because it's like, well, okay, but who's taking the lead here? Like, is there do they have the actual charisma to take the lead?
But also, it's like you can't have two leaders,
right? And that often is the
Beatles.
Yeah,
it's like you have to be led. I mean, not that I'm a musician, but if you're collaborating, it's like films. You need a strong director for a film to be successful. You need one person kind of.
Which in the Beatles,
helm.
I guess that was George Harris. Sorry, not George.
John Lennon.
No,
Paul McCartney.
No, the producer. I'm thinking the producer.
Yoko Ono.
Yeah, it was. George Martin is the producer. I'm thinking of.
And you all know this because you've worked with so many like massive egos and personalities.
Yeah.
Sometimes you need someone else to come in and say it.
Yeah,
because
100%.
it's so hard to upset the piece.
And I've actually lost what I feel like I've sometimes a little bit lost my identity in a collaboration just by the fact that I've not spoken up enough, and then ended up kind of being like, that actually could have been better.
Do you think you're better at that now?
Yeah, and partially because I've just decided not really to collaborate that much, and I think that's one way around it. Because in a way, there is by definition. It's like I was doing a Q&A on my Vault yesterday, and people kept asking me about collaborations and about like, you know, who would you collaborate with, this artist or collaborate with this artist, or who would your favorite collaboration be? And I'm by the way, I think that's a completely fair question. I mean, like fans, especially who
it's actually my next question
of many fans of
joking, just kidding.
Of many artists are gonna
they're gonna want you to collaborate.
Yeah, like and everyone's
course.
excited to see what might happen, and I'm excited to see what happen between some artists. But then at the same time, you know, my answer was like, well, yeah, you know, I would, and maybe, and blah blah blah. But it's like collabs usually end up being weaker than the main songs of either artist, because most artists, I think, find it difficult to put their full identity in a song they're making with someone else, especially if you're sharing the center stage, and especially if you're not massively experienced doing lots of collaboration, and especially if you're nervous, or especially if you're too
or sort of not starting out, but say if you're trying to establish your distinctive style, and then you worry that you're collaborating with someone that's watering it down. Like I can understand why that would feel like a bit of a risk if you want to like protect something.
Yes.
But then they are really beneficial.
And then sometimes you're doing it on a completely different genre that's not your own genre.
Yeah.
You know? So, and then it's like, okay, so how do I fit into this? You're like me on some like rap tunes. It's like, it's hard to imagine how I'm gonna, like, given the topic of conversation, given the topic of the song, sometimes I have to like make an assessment of like, okay, you might want my voice on this, but do I fit here? You know, like, are we talking about the same thing? Can I talk about that subject well? Like, am I the right person for this? Like, you know, there's been times when I haven't been and I haven't done the song. And there's been times where I haven't been and I have done the song anyway.
And
for example, like I was offered the feature for Goosebumps. You know Goosebumps by Travis?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
He came to me about doing a feature for that. And that ended up being probably his biggest song. And I turned it down because I didn't know what to say. And I now regret that massively, but because I love the song as well, and I loved it even then. But I was just like, I don't know what to say on this, and I don't know how to do this, and I felt a bit like intimidated by it because I was like, oh, I can't fuck this up because it's just such a big song, and I don't want to let him down. I ended up not doing it instead of like trying to find a way through and like giving it a go. I was just intimidated and I just didn't do it.
But see, they're two different things, because that's like one of those situations is like you being scared and not thinking that you'd be, and then the other situation is you being like, actually, this isn't going to serve me.
Yes.
I read this quote the other day that's so cringe, but I love it, which is regrets are harder to live with than consequences. And but I just invented that, by the way. I'm the first person that said that.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And also what goes up must come down. That's the quote that I read the other day. A good one. I know.
That's huge.
But I think acknowledging when you do regret stuff is really healthy, because then you think like, okay, I actually regret not doing that. So maybe in the future I'll dig a bit deeper, interrogate myself a bit more before I turn something down. I
think it was a podcast that we were talking to about doing somewhere later this year. And they were like, oh, well, we've never heard James talk, so we don't know. Like they were wanting to do it, but they were like, so what's he like? We've never heard him talking out.
Can I just say that's really chic though?
I mean,
that
in
is
a way,
quite chic, to be like, he's so mysterious.
But you could just Google me.
I know. Obviously. And also you talk on Instagram as well.
Yeah.
But it is like, that was also quite chic.
In a way.
I'd love for someone to be like, I don't know what she sounds like. Said no one ever.
I mean, yeah, in a way, I guess so.
But no, I know what you mean.
I want to do less because I think honestly, like the overexposure doesn't feel great. And you know, I think that's why I did Theo's. No, sorry, that's not part of the
No, this is your first
party
podcast.
line. Sorry, that's why this is my first.
That's
podcast
why you're
ever.
doing this podcast.
As my
because this
exclusive.
is the first time anyone's ever heard your voice, apart from at live shows.
Yeah, that's right. I've been mute for my whole life. Actually, my parents have never heard me speak either. So you're getting an exclusive.
Have you ever turned down like a lot of money to perform at something really weird? I don't even know this, but what are you gonna say?
Yeah, like a celebrity's house.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
How much money?
A lot. It was a lot of money.
Was it just you and the celebrity?
It wasn't just me and the celebrity, but it would have been a small room.
Wow.
And I just didn't really want to do it. And I think there's been other things like corporate stuff that has just been too far out from my principles.
But you wouldn't do like I can't really think, my mind's going blank when I think of like a thing that you wouldn't be able to do now. But like, you know, you wouldn't do like a fundraiser for Andrew Tate's new political party.
For Bruv?
For Bruv.
I'll probably...
If Bruv paid you...
DJ set.
I'll
do a DJ set for Bruv.
To be fair. Oh, you threw a really good party last year, which was one of my favourite nights of last year, which was in Tottenham, CMYK in Tottenham.
Yeah, thanks.
And you were DJing, and me and Anna were like behind you on the stage, like obviously loving the fact that everyone was looking at us.
There was also Flodan and Nefertiti.
Yeah.
And we had a bunch of other DJs as well. They were great.
And we were standing on the stage, like behind you, me and Anna, just sort of like main charactering the whole thing. And then Anna turned to me and she was like, we were looking out the crowd and she was like, some people are having babies and we're here.
You mean like we're at an age where people are having babies right now?
No, as in like our friends are like at home conceiving children and we're here.
Yeah.
Like
doing something truly meaningful.
Doing something truly meaningful that's going to like make a difference in the world.
Exactly, yeah.
But that was a sick night. I loved that.
Thanks, yeah.
And I think that those are the kinds of nights when I was younger I would go to and have so much fun at, but then I feel like a little bit too like, sometimes it's like, am I a bit too old to be like going to a rave now? So it was like so fun to just like be at a rave.
What, are you 30?
30.
I think
not only am I too old, but I'm a bit too anxious now to like be in the riffraff of a rave.
I see.
You know?
And also like we've all become, I think it's not so much age as the fact that our phones have kind of like brought us into this, you know, solitary world where we just access everything through this one device, and we stay at home and we watch Netflix and we don't go to cinemas, and we, you know, it's like almost everything is,
and we're just like looking at it via a screen.
or we can just watch a Boiler Room, you know, or like some kind of like Her or whatever it's called, or like some online version of a DJ set. I mean, yeah, I think like raves are kind of the church of, they were sort of my going to church really. So and I think I went since I was I was going to rave since I was 14.
Legend.
No, but I mean not as a cool.
So was I. Actually.
No, I was just lurking.
If we were the same age, we would have been going to raves together, I reckon.
I wasn't the cool kid at these things at all.
You just loved going.
I just liked going, and I would just, you know, I got the fake ID, and I wanted to go to Herbal, and I wanted to go to Plastic People, and I wanted to go to these things, and Ministry, and I didn't fit into any of it. I didn't fit into any of the scenes or any of the, and you know, usually I'd like step on someone's shoes and he'd start on me, and like he's all coked up and I'm like leaving the party, you know, stuff like that.
No.
Yeah, or like I had some friends there, but they'd leave me, and then, you know, I'd like catch eyes with a girl, but then I'd like immediately look at my shoes, you know. And then I'd go and sort of like I went there as a, like, you know, we'd all go, like people from my school would all go, and you know, I was. In a way, I had some friends. It was sort of loose friendships, I'd say, but we all just enjoyed going to these things. And I
would you take drugs?
No, I drink, but I didn't. Maybe I smoked weed. I wasn't.
You weren't. That's never really been your thing.
No, I never took drugs really. I didn't really ever do Class A's. I did MDMA once, but only when I was like much older.
Yeah.
And when it came to these parties, like this is like jungle drum and bass era. So I was going to these things, and then garage, and then dubstep started a few years later, like when I was about 17 or 18. And then by 19, I was actually going to dubstep raves all the time. And then that's how I sort of got into producing. But at the time, it was just like, I was just curious about the music. I didn't really understand it. I was just like, wow, this is so fresh and different. And, you know, I played piano, but I didn't know anything about this stuff. And to me, it was more cultural. It was like, this is like a side of London that I come from Enfield. So it's just like totally different from anything I knew. And it was a place to go and get drunk and sort of try and meet girls, really.
Did you ever go to like those underage raves? Like at because you were slightly older than me, but we used to go to one at Ministry of Sound. Was it a Ministry of Sound? No, it was in London Bridge. It was called Let's Go Crazy, and it was for like 15s and unders.
I didn't go to the underage ones. I just went to.
They were so
was
weird.
Underage at adult parties, which was kind of probably not as good, really. Like I probably wish I'd had stuff like that there.
But there was something so strange about underage raves, and I really hope they don't happen.
So
now.
no one's drinking. No one's.
Well, they are. Like everybody's fucked.
So they drink outside and then they come in.
Yeah, and then I think we would maybe sneak in like MD or whatever, but you wouldn't be able to buy alcohol inside. So everybody would be like throwing up Glen's vodka onto your own hair, like in the queue outside. Wow. And then you'd get in and you'd snog like 50 boys. But the promoters for these nights were like 19 to 22-year-olds, which looking back on it is really strange. It's like they're like kind of, like, it's like, why aren't you promoting raves for people your own age? Do you know what I mean? But they kind of served a purpose also in a way.
But they're just the older brothers of someone who they're
exactly, and they're just probably getting like £5 for every like ticket that they sell. It was like a really good pyramid scheme.
Yeah, totally.
Back in the day.
Yeah.
Who out of the people that you've worked with so many incredible people who maybe you're intimidated by, some of them.
Yeah.
Who out of the people you've worked with lived up to your expectations of them in a good way?
Beyonce. Andre 3000.
The chewing is just... You're being so dramatic while also like chewing on a... So one of the things that I think as a performer, and I know that we are different forms of performers, but I think the post-show adrenaline feeling is dealt with in lots of different ways. Some people have to like chase the high. Other people like need to go home and be alone.
Yeah.
What has been, because what would say, I mean, we had a really fun night. Do you remember after your show at Ali Pali last year?
Yeah.
We had so much fun.
I had a great time.
That was a great night. And that was nearly your birthday. Wasn't it like the day before your birthday?
Well, it's like, the thing is, playing those kind of shows, it's like, every time I do a show like that, it's basically my birthday. It's like,
exactly.
I'm center
you
of
don't
attention,
need a birthday.
And I have like an after party. It's basically the same thing. It's like, I don't need a birthday party because, you know, it's like the idea, like, you know, Jamila's, you know, hell is like a wedding where she's the center of attention and she's fucking in the white dress and like all this stuff. She's just like, you know, her life is like, she doesn't need to be the center of attention for that one day, you know, of her life, you know, and probably the same. You probably feel similarly, although I don't know.
No, I'm not sure about that.
I even, as I said it.
Yeah, you regretted saying that because you were saying that and then you registered and remembered who I am.
Yeah, but obviously better to regret than to
face the consequences.
So I just,
But I agree that shows do feel like birthdays, and because everybody from your life is there in one place. So
all my friends, my family are there. Exactly. Like it's this, you know, homecoming to Ali Pali, and Ali Pali is like a place where I also like kind of grew up going to. Like every Friday night we'd go to Ali Pali, and
isn't that where you had your first kiss?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Remember that? I've seen you tell that story.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is so cool. That's like, you're like, it's an amazing feeling.
It's an amazing feeling.
You're at home.
Yes. It felt like I'd come full circle. Like I never imagined that sitting outside Ali Pali, this kind of huge structure that I just thought of as an ice rink with, you know,
fireworks.
Who knows who owns that thing? Who knows? There weren't really any gigs there at that time either. And then to like, and just to like look over the whole of London and, you know, be a bit socially anxious because I'm at a thing. Everyone's always there, but like, also, you know, it's school. You're just, everyone's making their way through life anyway. And you're drunk a lot of the time and whatever. And just feeling so, had no idea what I was going to do with the rest of my life. And then to come back, I guess, yeah, roughly 20 years later, and be headlining a 10,000 cap show.
It's crazy.
It was like, it was really, really overwhelming. And so the feeling of that into the evening is like, you can't really come down from it and just go home. I would have found it really difficult to just go home and be like, well, that was normal.
Because it's not.
It's not normal.
And also,
at all.
I mean, it's so hard, isn't it? Because you never want to get into a habit of like always feeling like you have to chase that high. But there are moments that are really special and should be treated as really special moments.
You just did Hammersmith Apollo, and it's
exactly.
Like a fucking
and after that,
deal.
like I was like, yeah.
It's that moment in a comedian's career is like a really big fucking deal, and it's you know, homegrown. You've self-grown that whole thing. Like your audience is the, you know, your crowd is your crowd. Not many comedians have managed to do that, but like you've actually grown your own audience completely off your own back. And then just
a sprinkle of Nepo, I'd say.
I think with comedy, that's actually I would argue that in comedy that's a disadvantage.
Yeah, I get
Especially
that. I
given
won't
that,
say that, but you go off.
Well, I'd say a female comedian whose dad is famous and who is famous potentially for the wrong reasons in a lot of this country, and then for people to be like, you know, automatically basically undervaluing and undermining you, and the press to be constantly undermining you, and for people to assume you're just going to be not very good and assume that you're just going to whatever. I think that's a disadvantage. I think there are advantages you have, but I don't think that is a major one. Because especially as the fact that your dad doesn't really have any contacts in comedy.
The arts.
And comedies are notoriously boys' club. And
it's also
a judgmental place. So it's
and you can't be successful unless you're good. That's the thing I love about stand-up is that eventually you get to a point where it all comes back around, and people who at the start were like, I don't get it, she's not funny. And the amount of people who have now said that to me in a completely frank way, which is kind of fine, but whatever.
People say, I don't get your music and it's not for me. And that is going to be the case with any art form. You're doing something that your audience love. Yeah. And that's all that matters. And I think as time goes on, we're realizing that it's not about just standing outside the house telling everyone to come in and being like, hey, like, come in. It's like, no, there's enough people in the house. Just play to the people in the house.
I completely agree with that.
That is a really important part of like today's economy of like music and comedy and everything. And
respect the people who have stayed with you. Exactly.
And
stop trying
love them back.
Exactly.
Love them back
respect them.
Yes, and respect them by not just continually appealing to more.
Yeah.
Like you've built this thing and more people will be attracted to it naturally, but the fact that you did that, and I've watched you do it. So it's not, you know, and I've seen the amount of people, I've literally been at your comedy shows when other comics have undermined you.
Yeah, because you were there that night when that guy was really rude to me.
I've been at your comedy shows where people have been rude to you, undermined you, taken way too long and given you a really short set, you know, like basically just kind of tried to cut into you in any way they could, and still you had the room, still you smashed it. And I think that says a lot. And to be honest, like Nepo or no Nepo, like that's just it the proof's in the pudding. So
well, thank you very much. That's very kind. You actually were really instrumental in the writing of the show, because the poem at the end, you and Alice wrote with me.
It was funny because I've obviously never ever been involved in the writing of anything in that way, but I just think because I think your show is very like, because it's about, you know, it's about this singular event, this the aftermath and the prelude to the abortion and everything, and this how you reacted and how you felt, and it's a topic that a lot of people are going to not know how comedy could arise from that, and I think especially men are going to find it difficult to kind of get into that subject because they're not going to be able to relate. But that's what you were so helpful with, because I remember we spoke like it was right when I was still going through it, and I was like, I think I want to write my show about this, and I remember you saying, well, figure out a way, which I did with your help and lots of people's help, figure out a way for it to not be alienating. And it wasn't. Well, you're not alienating you're already not alienating as a person when it comes to talking about that stuff. You sort of call men in, not call them out.
Did you watch Nikki Glazer's opening monologue at the Golden Globes?
I didn't. No.
It was so good because she had, I've watched it about 15 times since yesterday, but the joke writing was masterful because she towed the line of rinsing these people without being an actual cunt.
Yeah.
Perfectly.
Yeah.
And like everybody loved it. And I think that's the thing, that when you can do that, and comedians love to be like, you should be able to say what you want. Obviously, say what you want, go off, I don't care. But if you can roast people while also making them feel included, that's an amazing skill, because they'll come back. Do you know what I mean?
Totally.
And they'll feel flattered while also feeling insulted.
Most people like they say humor is the truth delivered more quickly than you expect.
Oh, I've never heard that.
Yeah.
I'm putting that in my quote book. That's an original Grace Campbell.
Yeah, that is, yeah.
What did you say? Humor is the truth delivered quicker. Is that what you said?
Delivered quicker than you expect.
Woof. Love that.
I think when that is put into... So like, people love to be called out. Like, I love to be called out. Like, some of the times that it seems sort of counterintuitive, but like sometimes Jamila will say something to me about the way I'm being, or like about my true intentions behind something, or that I won't have, she'll just call me out, and I'll just piss myself laughing, because I just feel so happy that I've been called out, and it's funny because I just almost hadn't realized it myself, and I couldn't see myself.
And then it's like suddenly you're like, wow.
Then I'm like, oh, that's hilarious that I didn't know that. And also, or you caught me, and I'm like a kid who's just been caught, and I laugh, right?
Yeah.
So that, I think, is kind of like what the audience is doing when, like being roasted and being included. It's
exactly.
Like it's not, it doesn't have to be actually mean. And sometimes I think meanness is confused with a cutting edge. I think you just walked the line really well on that show, and I think I don't think I particularly contributed a lot. I think
you did contribute to the song at the end, I have to say.
Yeah.
Because I did not really do anything. You totally. And Alice, it was like...
But I'm like versed in like making these sentences.
Yeah, we just walked around Buckingham Palace outside, not inside. We were like walking around like Hyde Park, Green Park, Buckingham Palace, and you guys were just sort of like riffing.
Yeah.
And I would sometimes input and be like, oh, I think that feels a bit peak. I don't want to say that.
Yeah.
So that part, you guys really, that was arguably like, for me, ending the show on that high is what got me through my tour, because before that I was ending the show not on a low. I was ending the show in a funny way, but for me, psychologically and in an energetic way, I was ending it feeling really heavy. Mm-hmm. And then once we wrote that, I would end the show just on a high, because I've just sort of done this little musical number and everybody's like loved it and danced a bit, and then it's over.
I remember saying to you at the time, like, there was a version of the show where I thought, this is funny and also serious, and also like it's three-dimensional, but I was like, what people won't expect and what will give you a release and make you feel better about the event itself, because it really did happen, and you're really going through the emotional, you're really like, you're really mining a proper emotional experience
that had just happened. It was a bit
and
too soon.
You were fresh to it. And so I was like, if you're going to do this, the only, in my opinion, like the best way to actually move through it and like actually process the traumatic event is by making it as funny and climactic as possible. So that like there's this moment of like, that feels fucking hilarious and finished. Like this completion moment where you're like, you walk off to a standing ovation, which you did basically every night of the tour.
Yeah, I got apart from one show, I got a standing ovation every night.
Yeah. And you know, next time you'll do better. But
no, but I blame the audience that night.
Yeah.
There was something off in the room.
Totally agree.
No, but you're right. And also when we came up with I don't want to say it in case I do the show again, but the bit where I ended up fucking there was a twist that we came up with in the pub, and that was Alice.
That was Alice.
It was Alice. And that is what made that show like it just because then it turns into a different.
You can bleep this
said
out,
it.
but she went, "You fuck." You fuck. Oh, we both cracked up laughing. Alice is just, I mean,
she's a genius.
Whatever the fuck. I'm sorry about my accent. In fact, you'll bleep it out.
No, that was great. It was so South African.
Yeah. You fuck.
You fuck.
But
and then I fuck.
Yeah.
No, it was but anyway, not to talk about my own show for like 20 minutes. But
I mean, I was talking about it.
No, I know, I love it. I obviously I love talking about.
But back to me, you're absolutely right.
But I loved. Well, do you know what you in that process, I turned so many corners in terms of like creativity and maybe actually putting more. Giving myself a bit more grace with what I am writing and not thinking it's sort of as frivolous as I used to think it was. And you really helped with that. And also because the fact that you took it seriously, I was like, oh, okay, well then maybe this is a good show because you were taking it seriously and really like offering me quite a lot of help. And I was like, okay, well this is.
But that's also being, I mean, I was and I do, but also like being it like from a producer's perspective, like as a musician, as a music producer, that's what I would do too. Like whatever stage you're at is like my job as a producer is to get the best out of you and make sure you're happy with the end result to the point where it was like it majorly like majority of it came from you, so it always feels authentic, and then the end result feels like a release, and it's about just helping someone express themselves. So I don't think it's that different in comedy. I feel like my skills as a music producer are actually transferable to like a lot of different things.
When you put out a song, do you feel really like exposed? That was what I was originally asking you, and then we went on a tangent. Like, do you feel like?
Yeah.
What do you feel?
Yeah, I do. I actually feel sad most of the time when I put a song out because I really enjoy having that song to myself. And I often call the release like the funeral of the song because it's basically it's me like sending it across the river and it being not mine anymore, and now it's just in the world and I don't get to like be comforted by it, have it as my little fucking mate or my sculpture I work on in the attic whenever I just go home and like privately work on this thing.
But then you get to perform it.
Then I get to perform it and then it lives its own life and it's a different life. But the day I release it, I don't feel that because usually I haven't got a tour booked that day or like whatever. So also there's the thing of like, with every song you're like, you don't see the effect of how the song is going to be received by people until months later.
I know, but that's what's also
so on the day you're like, how do people think about it? Like, what do people think? And you just don't know.
You get no like tangible
there's some comments,
kind of answer.
The streaming figures aren't really up to anything. I mean, I don't really release songs with like, I don't get like 10 million streams in a week, or whatever. I just release things and.
But also, even if you did get that kind of number, that's not really like it doesn't give you anything like the return on that.
Well, you don't.
When it happens, it doesn't actually feel like anything.
The streaming era is that you're looking at like you're looking at numbers. It doesn't mean anything.
I know.
It's so empty. The act of releasing music nowadays is so empty because most of the time you're just like, it's like the prelude to releasing a song is basically like uploading it to a streaming service. It's like, what? Like there used to be like. Go to you do a record store in store, like do I mean you can still do those things, but also they mean less.
To like know that people were there's something so physical about someone buying something and then going to play it in something physical, and that being like an active choice.
Inviting their friends over to listen to the album. It's like when actually, I think there are some artists who, when they release an album, it's like an event, and you all like get around. You know, you maybe get the vinyl and come around and listen to it. But it's like it's much more rare now. And so,
is there an artist that you would do that with?
Kendrick,
yeah,
I'd say is one of those artists I'm thinking of already, where I'm like, when he releases an album, it's like you're not going to not listen to it.
Yeah,
like you got to see what he's going to say. And you know, the last one was no different. I'll always do a full front to back listen, sat in front of my speakers, like, you know, full attention dedicated to it.
Who would be your dream +1 for a party?
Dream +1. I have actually had you as a +1 for a party, and you were great +1. You were great at the Minecraft house. You were fantastic at that.
I was just so taken aback by it all.
You were,
and there was cigarettes and bowls.
Because what I love about you as well is that you're not jaded at all. You're like me in the sense that there are some people who've just like, they're either too cool, so they just feel they never really want to show much excitement about anything, or they have seen everything and they're just kind of jaded by it. Like, they've already done it. And it doesn't seem to matter what I do, like whether it's like going to a new restaurant or whatever. Like, I'm always just like, oh my God.
Same.
That's amazing.
That's what I'm like.
You know, or going to a new country or whatever. Like, fuck,
yeah.
Have you seen the fucking size of these trees? Like, whatever.
That's literally what I'm like.
And I just kind of always been like that. And I don't know, that energy I really like to have around me.
I think we both
feels
have
like
this
then
very,
life's exciting.
Yeah,
it's like,
but I think we both have this very present like thing, which is that everything is the first, even though it isn't, and like could be the last vibe. That's how I always feel at anything. I'm like, oh my God, this is fucking crazy. Like, look at this house. Like, even though I've been to loads of insane houses or like eaten like loads of the same meal, I'll be like, this is unbelievable.
Totally.
It's because we're super present and mindful.
I will agree. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd agree with you. I'd say
that's why we're also quite late.
Reached Buddhist.
Yeah.
Sort of like, I'd say nirvana. I'd say like.
Peak nirvana.
Enlightenment. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'd say this podcast was nirvana.
I'm not a very good +1 for a party, I don't think. I think I overthink, and I'm not like, and the vibe really has to be exactly right for me to just really love it. And I'm not as versatile as you, I don't think. I think you could fit into more situations. Maybe.
I don't know. I think I'm always, whenever I'm with someone, I know we'll have fun.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So and that's why I think people like taking me as a +1.
Yeah, because like whenever taking you outside to the smoking area or something, and you'll strike up a conversation with someone that I might not have done and might not have spoken to naturally, and they'll be like, I don't know, you're sort of like approachable, I think, in a way. You know, I don't know, being 6'8", sometimes I think I'm not like...
You are really tall.
I'm tall. I think
and that's the thing that...
I think maybe I'm not that approachable.
Well, I think when someone is 6'8", it might be quite intimidating. You are really tall.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's really chic as well, to be that tall. It's cool.
Chic and silent.
Yeah.
Just tall and silent.
Also, being approachable...
Never having spoken before this podcast.
No, the first time anybody's heard your voice.
It's kind of pretty shit, yeah.
But I would disagree with that. I think you are a good person to have, because it's like all about, at a party, for me anyway, it's all about being able to like look over and be like, do you know what I mean?
True.
That's the dream. Is to be able to look over and be like,
to be able to gossip.
You know, yeah.
Yeah.
And just be like,
and I do love doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I love observing people. That's why I don't think I'm like a massive like, I actually don't think I'm that sociable. And like, I hate most situations actually. But I love observing people. I love being in a situation where I don't know many people, so I can just watch them.
Yeah, and to be fair, that is what comedians do.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, like I have a few comedian friends, and you're maybe the least like this actually, because I think, and you're more natural, but I think a lot of comedians are literally just scanning the words that are being, it's like, every situation is just like potential
mental
food
notes.
for the comedy, which in music is less almost less candid or less obvious that the people are doing that. Like, there have been some really embarrassing moments in my relationship where something has happened and I've just like quickly written something down, and she's been like, "Have you just written a lyric about that?" I've been like, "No." because we're in the middle of an argument or something.
That's what I used to do when I was with my ex-boyfriend. I would stop and be like, "You've just given me such a good idea," but I would just do it. So like candidly,
No,
like, I've just had such a good idea for a bit.
I'd be like, no, I'm here, and I'm listening, and I'm with you, and I'm just trying to, like show them.
But how did you say it again? Just say it one more. Let me just write it down.
Yeah.
Just could you just say what you just said again?
Yeah. Oh my God, that hurts so much. Can you say it again? But yeah, so yeah, I don't know how we got into that. But
well, you have been a fabulous guest.
Thank you.
Thank you for doing this.
Yeah,
I thought it would be
great.
I thought you maybe would be too cool to come on my podcast. So
I was, but I felt like I was.
You're starting the year on a good deed.
I think so.
Yeah.
I just wanted to do something nice for you, and
Thanks. Well, you've done loads of nice things for me. That's
I really enjoyed myself.
I love
Thank
you. You are the best.
Love you too.
Thank you so much for doing
Thanks
this.
for having me.
And thanks, for your music.
Thank you for your
Thank you for the music,
comedy,
the songs I'm singing. Do you like ABBA?
I do.
I love ABBA.
I like ABBA a lot.
We need to go to see ABBA Voyage.
I don't want to see 5 holograms.
There's actually 4 people in ABBA, so it's actually 4 of them.
Yeah, true, that's true.
It's really good.
I just don't want to see holograms perform.